I'd like you to imagine the last time you went to the grocery store. Maybe it was to pick up a few items for dinner that night. Maybe it was your weekly shopping trip. Whatever it was, I just want you to picture yourself walking into the store. You grab a cart, maybe the coupons, and you walk in, and one of the first things you see is this beautiful produce section with just about every kind of fruit and vegetable you can imagine. And then you walk up and down the aisles, and you see shelf after shelf packed with all kinds of food. And you walk through the store, and you pick out the items you want, and you place them in your cart. If every single one of us here were to go shopping right now, our carts would all look different. There's nothing as individual as the food we eat. It's because we're all different. We all have different things we like and different things we don't like. But when you have the power, the freedom to choose your own groceries, we feel valued, empowered. In a word, we have dignity. Now, dignity is at the very heart of serving those in need, as we've done at Paul's Pantry in Green Bay, Wisconsin for nearly 4 decades. Now, when most people think of a food pantry, they think of a small room, maybe a church basement with a few shelves, with a few canned goods. That is not what Paul's Pantry is. Paul's Pantry is literally a grocery store for the poor. It's a free grocery store where absolutely everything, the food, the facilities, the trucks, everything exists because of the generosity of the community. There's no government funding at Paul's Pantry. Our motto is neighbors feeding neighbors, and we exist because of generosity. Now, if there's one thing we've seen during the pandemic over the past year or so, it's an outbreak of generosity. It's the simple truth that deep down, people just want to help each other. And so as we begin to emerge from the pandemic, the question we're faced with is, what does the future of hunger relief look like? We've gotten so used to wearing masks and standing 6 feet apart. What does it mean to feed the hungry today? And how could we do it better? Well, the answer is right in front of us. It won't be found in some massive corporation or some massive government program or even in some massive charity. The solutions are local, community by community, neighbors feeding neighbors. And it all starts by realizing that feeding the hungry isn't just about the food. It's about the people. People like Jesse. Now, Jesse has been coming to Paul's Pantry for about 5 years. He was born and raised in the Green Bay area, but he has not had it easy. An accident as a teenager left him paralyzed and in need of a wheelchair. And today he lives on a fixed income. But despite the challenges he's faced, every Friday, rain or shine, and even in the snow, and yes, in Green Bay, Wisconsin, we get snow, Jesse wheels himself down to Paul's Pantry to pick out his own groceries. And he usually gets the same type of stuff: some milk, some eggs, maybe a pizza or a soda. He's not a big fan of vegetables. But more importantly, he's treated with dignity and love. Because you see, so often when people think about feeding the hungry, they only think about the food. Well, that's obviously an important part of the equation, but feeding the hungry isn't just about the food. It's about the people. It's about dignity. And at Paul's Pantry, we serve well over 100 people a day, 5 days a week, just like Jesse. And the average person leaves Paul's Pantry with over 100 pounds of food. Now, if you're like me and you go to the grocery store, you don't weigh the cart at the end. You pay for it. So what does 100 pounds of food look like? Well, it looks like this. It's an overflowing cart with a few things on the bottom rack. 100 pounds of food is the equivalent of about $200 worth of groceries. And that's the average cart that leaves Paul's Pantry. The beauty is some people take more and some people take less. It's entirely up to the shopper. Some people take all the frozen food they can find, a lot of meat. Others load up on fruits and vegetables. I remember one man who came through about 2 years ago. He was a veteran, probably in his 60s, and it was his first time ever coming to the pantry. And as we often do with first-time shoppers, we have somebody go through with them to act as a guide, make sure they don't have any questions. So I had the privilege of going shopping with this man. And as we went through the pantry, I noticed he passed up a lot of really good stuff, things that I totally would have taken to feed my family. Frozen chicken and hamburger and pizza. And so I finally asked him, I said, "Do you not like any of this stuff?" And he looked down and he said, "I don't have a stove or an oven." Well, the very next shelf had cans of applesauce on it. So I grabbed a can and I showed it to him and I said, "Here, how about some applesauce?" And he looked away and he said, "I don't have a can opener." Well, pretty soon we came to another section and it was a cooler which was filled with sandwiches. Now, these were the pre-made deli sandwiches like you'd get at a convenience store or in a vending machine. And we had so many of them, as we often do, that people could take as many as they wanted. And when he saw that sign, his eyes just lit up. And he looked at me and he said, "I can really take all that I want?" And I said, "Absolutely." So he just loaded up. And he probably took 30, 35 different types of sandwiches. Now, some people, they walk right past that section and they don't take anything. But for that man, it was a lifeline. It was exactly what he needed. And it all happened because of the generosity of the community. Neighbors feeding neighbors. Now, much of the food we distribute at Paul's Pantry is actually rescued from grocery stores. It's food that would otherwise be thrown away, put in a dumpster, and wind up in a landfill. Now, according to the USDA, every year in this country, more than 133 billion pounds of food is wasted at the wholesale, retail, or consumer level. That translates into 250,000 pounds of food wasted every single minute. In just the time I've been talking, about 2 million pounds of food has been wasted in this country. We want to do something about that. We want to rescue as much of that food as possible and get it to people in need while it's still good. So to do that, we have a team of drivers who go out 364 days a year, every day but Christmas, and they pick up the unsaleable items from grocery stores. And then they bring it back to the pantry where a team of staff and our volunteers go through every item individually by hand. If it's still good, if it's still grocery store quality, we put it on our shelves. If it's still good, but it's not perfect, maybe some overripe bananas, we put it in an area we call the freebie shelf, where people can take unlimited quantities so it gets used quickly. And if it's not good, and let's face it, by the time we get some of this stuff, it's not very good. We don't put that on our shelves. We also don't throw it away. It goes here, into what we affectionately call the pig room, where a couple times a week, farmers come by to pick up the leftover produce to feed to their livestock. And of the 150 tons of food we handle every single month, we give away about 10 tons to local farmers. Another place we get a lot of food is from food drives. Businesses, churches, community groups, school groups, they collect non-perishable food items for us to distribute to people in need. And people often ask me, they say, "Bob, what kind of stuff should I donate? What do you need?" And I always say this: donate something you like. Because the fact is, the people we serve, they're just like you and me. And we all like good stuff. So if you happen to like generic tomato soup, by all means, donate generic tomato soup. But don't just go buy the cheapest thing you can find because you think the poor will eat anything. Believe me, we'll put it to good use. But we want to treat people better than that. We want to give people the same choices that you and I get when we go to the grocery store. And we all like good stuff. So if you feel called to donate, donate something you like. And the last place we get a lot of our food is a place a lot of people don't realize. It's the grocery store. We're also the companies and the suppliers for the grocery stores. You see, again, thanks to the generosity of the community, we use donated funds to purchase staples. Things like milk, butter, eggs, orange juice, hamburger, chicken, peanut butter, jelly, rice, beans, oatmeal, sugar, broccoli, carrots, celery, oranges, bananas, even soap and shampoo. You see, we want to have a steady supply of healthy staples so people can have high quality, good food. Then we also want to give them the freedom, the power, and the dignity to decide what to put in their cart. Now, we could not do what we do without the generosity of the community. Their donations of food and funds are critical to our hunger relief efforts. But the engine that drives us, the very secret ingredient to our success, it's the people. It's our volunteers. We only have a staff of about a dozen people at Paul's Pantry. The vast majority of the work we do, from the driving of the trucks to the distribution of the food and the sorting of the food, it's done almost exclusively by our volunteers. And those volunteers, just like our recipients, come from all walks of life. Teachers, students, retirees, community service members, all kinds of good people doing little things with great love. And it all started with our founder, Leo Frigo. Now, if you Google Leo Frigo, the first thing that comes up is a picture of the bridge that bears his name. But what a lot of people don't realize, even some people here in Green Bay, is the man behind the bridge. The retired cheese company executive who retired in his 50s, but instead of going and living on an island somewhere, he got together with a group of like-minded people and he started a little food pantry. He was a man of faith who loved God and loved others, and he wanted to make sure people in need were treated with dignity and love. And he needed some help. You see, in the early days of the pantry, Leo didn't have enough volunteers one day. So he went outside to where the line of people had started to form, where people were gathering to wait for food. And he walked up to those people and he said, "I'm sorry, but if you want me to open today, I'm going to need some help. We don't have enough volunteers." One of the people in line that day was Mavis. Mavis came inside to help, and she never left. For 37 years, Mavis has been coming to Paul's Pantry. She started as a volunteer, and she did such a great job that they put her on the staff. And today, at the age of 87 years old, Mavis still works at the pantry part-time. And what Mavis started continues today. The backbone of our operation is our volunteers, and the majority of our volunteer hours are done by the recipients themselves. The very people we're here to serve are serving one another, side by side, neighbors feeding neighbors. Now, inviting in recipient volunteers to work alongside community volunteers does a few things. Number one, it gives them a sense of pride and dignity. They matter. They have a stake in what we do. It also gives them the dignity of work. And the extra benefit for them is they get to shop first. You see, before we open to the general public for the day, our recipient volunteers come in and they choose their groceries. And after they're done, they put them in their car or they put them in the cooler, and then they work for the rest of the day. But perhaps the greatest thing our recipient volunteers do is they help break down some of the barriers we typically see in society. Before we distribute food for the day, we gather all of our staff and volunteers around one of the tables of food. Now, before COVID, we would join hands. And we greet those who are gathered, we have a few announcements, and then I have the opportunity and the privilege to lead a brief prayer of thanksgiving. And as I do that, I look around at the faces of the people who have gathered. And what I see is one of the most diverse groups of people that you'll find anywhere. Young, old, rich, poor, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, educated, uneducated, liberal, conservative, people with physical, mental, or emotional challenges. All these people from different backgrounds, different segments of society, they all come together with one heart and one mission: to get food to people in need, and to do it with dignity and love. That is the future of hunger relief. It's not about the food, it's about the people. It's about dignity. And it's about time we as a society stopped looking down on people in need and instead join hands with them and invite them to the table. You might say it's time for a bridge, a place to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, the hungry and the well-fed. It's time we build a hunger relief system on the dignity of every single human person. And it's time we all get together and start doing just that. Neighbors feeding neighbors together. Thank you.